Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Biz Birthday Bash podcast. We have brought on another wonderful guest today, Kaylie of Mulberry Market Designs. So hello, Kaylie. We're really glad that you're here to talk to us today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. This has been a long time coming, and I'm excited that it's finally happening.
Yes, of course. It has been a long time coming for sure. And we have had, I think, one other person on the show who does like little hand-lettered name tags kind of, but we haven't had anyone on the show who does like full-blown wedding signage, big signs, acrylic signs, wood signs, frame signs, all the different things. So
Yeah.
I am going to go ahead and read your bio just so our audience can learn a little more about you. Kaylie is a mama of three, a lover of animals, and owner of Mulberry Market Designs. And when she's not running her business with her husband, she's chasing her three kids around and caring for their overabundance of animals. They love their life in the country and enjoy living simply. When they're not being homebodies on their farm, they like to go to the beach or find adventure to somewhere historic. Kaylie first started her handmade business way back in 2012, only a month after getting married. She was working a corporate job and looking for a creative outlet and became obsessed with Etsy's Quit Your Day Job series. She found herself wanting to take her little business full time. Within 3 months, it became a financially smart move and she quit her job. Her family thought she was crazy, but she was on a mission. Entrepreneurship is in Kaylie's blood. Most of her family members own their own businesses, so she knew she always wanted to do the same. She and her husband enjoy having the freedom to be full-time parents and take a day off when they really need it. They run the business the way they know how to serve their customers best. It's been a wild ride the past 9 years, but they're so glad that life chose this path for them. So, Kaylie, now that I got through your bio, hopefully okay.
You did great. It's so weird hearing about yourself in another person's, perspective and voice, but you did awesome.
Yes, perfect. We're just really thankful that you took time out of your busy schedule with chasing all the animals and the kids, obviously. So tell us a little bit about like where you guys actually live, just to kind of like set the scene for people for your like homestead.
Absolutely. So it's funny because I call it the country, but we're nestled right in the city as well. So we're like only 30, 45 minutes from Tampa, but we're in a little small township called Lithia, which is, literally 2 streets big, but close to Brandon, close to Plant City. So we're close to everything, but our neighborhood is very country. It's an old neighborhood. So we just feel like we're kind of in this hidden little spot of the country without being too far from the necessities. So we absolutely love it. We just feel like home here. And I grew up here, so.
Yeah, and you were one of the very first people I think I ever followed on Instagram when I started my account. Oh gosh, in like 2015 or something like that.
Gosh, that's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you definitely were. I don't know if it's because I just like stumbled upon your work through a hashtag or if Instagram recommended you. I don't even remember what the algorithm looked like at that point. Like, was there even an explore page? I don't know.
I can tell you it was better. That's for sure.
It was definitely better.
And you're not too far from me at all. You're just down the street from me. So, well, not down the street, but down the state.
Yes, not far.
Yeah. How far do you think it would be, Cami?
Probably an hour and a half. Yeah. Not too far.
We need a beach day then.
I know. We can meet at Dinosaur World on the halfway point.
Kids would love that.
Yes.
Okay, Kaylie, in your bio, it talked a little bit about when you kind of like fell in love with signage and started pursuing art on your own time. Can you tell us a little more about that? Like, can you elaborate on Etsy's Quit Your Day Job series and why specifically you fell in love with signage? Like, why that route?
Yeah, it's crazy because when I was in school, I was definitely more into charcoal and portraiture and line work and things that are very different from what I do now. even watercolor. And that was just something that I guess I was worried that if I made it into a business, I would be burnout or not enjoy it. So I wanted to do something separate from what I enjoyed in my personal life. But it also really just kind of fell in my lap. Whenever we got married in June, we wanted to kind of DIY and make all of our own little things. And that was a big part of it, was making some signs for our wedding. We just found some scrap wood and scrounged up some paint that we had and made our own signs. And it just kind of took off from there. I was looking for a creative outlet and listed some stuff on Etsy. I kept reading a little bit about that series that they were publishing. It was very big during that time because Etsy was still kind of new. Pinterest was still kind of new. Doing any sort of handmade business was very new at that time and very different. And I'm all about the different. So I started reading this series, and I was just so inspired by all of these artists all over the world that were choosing to create a business out of it and doing it successfully. And I just knew that that was something I wanted to pursue. Whatever it took, I wanted to do it. So that was just that inspiration, and it just sparked something.
That's amazing.
I love that so much. And it's so funny because so many of our audience and people we've had on the show, their businesses started from like their own wedding. Everyone's like, well, I made this for my wedding, and it just kind of took off from there. Like, it seems like that's such a natural path. And you're just like, wow, I really like this.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. And I was so surprised. I was like, wow, it's funny how that moment in your life inspired something new. And then you're able to, for the most part, create it together. So it is really cool.
Yeah, that makes it even more special. Just like, so sweet. Okay, so we love this question. Just because I consider myself an artist, Elizabeth considers herself an entrepreneur. So we want to hear from you. Do you consider yourself an artist or an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so great question. I have always considered myself an artist. I'm definitely just a creative thinker. I'm not an analytical thinker. My brain only tends to lean to that side. My husband is the entrepreneur, but I will say in the past few years, I've definitely treaded more into the entrepreneur spirit, only because it's just something that's required when you start a business. You have to start thinking that way at some aspect or level. But I definitely teeter between the two. Some days I'm like, I don't want to think. I don't want to make decisions. I just want to create. I want to be inspired. And then other days I'm like, oh man, if I could do this and I could sell this and I could make people happy and all these things. So I definitely teeter between the two. So I like to say that I would probably be both, but I still definitely am more of just the creative spirit. And my husband makes up for the lack of entrepreneur that I might be afraid of sometimes.
That's a perfect response. And I would say, like, from what I know of you, very accurate for sure, that you've always been like hands-on motivated, that from what you've told me are totally like creatively oriented in your life, but with a lot of business sense for sure.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny because I didn't go to business school. There was nothing about my life that I majored or learned or anything like that. So all of it was something that I had to just completely learn on my own. Lots of book reading, and then things that my husband had experienced and that he knew. And then, of course, family members that are all entrepreneurs, asking them questions and just having a really good support system. That can be extremely important when you're running a business, because if your family is not involved and aware of how you do things and there for you when you need them, it can be that much harder. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that you'll have to make up for that and be that much stronger.
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, my family has been so supportive, and it's made things so much easier to just have them like rallying behind you or helping out when you need it. Like it really makes a difference. So very thankful for that for sure. Okay, so your husband Josh started kind of working with you after you guys made signs for your wedding. Was that just like, hey, let's do this business together? Or did you kind of start doing it and then you were like, babe, I need some help. Okay, like get in here.
Definitely more the latter. My husband worked a corporate job. Well, he worked for Publix, which is an awesome company to work for. Everybody
loves Publix. Yeah. I worked for Publix.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Summer, like literally last summer during the pandemic, because I was like cooped up and I could like cry. I love it so much. Okay.
It's a great business. And oh my gosh, don't get me started on the stock. So yeah, my husband actually worked there for 7 years, like literally from high school on. He was going to make a career out of it. He was very, very excited to just be a part of that company. And we wanted him to stay there, but our business was kind of suffering only being me. So it was like we kind of just had to make a decision that I think was hard for him, but he's so, so glad that he did, because it definitely squashed his entrepreneur spirit, because he had to be under a boss and under rules and under what that business required. Whereas now he can be his own creative self and make his own decisions and pursue other things. So it's been a really good move. It was just a tough move the first year. So yeah, he's really glad to have done it.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who start there like right out of high school and
Yeah,
intend to like work their way up the company and stay there. And it makes
yeah.
sense
Mhm.
because it's an awesome
Yes.
company.
It's just that dedication you have to have. So, like, I know after
Yes.
the first year, he was like, "I don't know, I wanna go back." It was definitely back and forth, but,
Mhm.
it's been a good move. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I think it takes like 2, sometimes even 3 years to fully adjust to a really big life change. So, like,
Yes.
moving somewhere new, changing careers. Like, I remember when we first moved to Georgia and it was 3.5 years in that I finally said to Will, like, I think we found our people. It
Oh,
took that
yay.
long. And just I feel like any transition is like that it's like you're always kind of going to be looking back, especially like the first year and even a little bit of the second year. And now that he's just like, you both are looking forward, that kind of just makes such a huge difference. And I'm glad that you guys are so happy with that decision,
Yeah,
as you should be.
yeah. It took a little while, but now we're both like, sometimes he's almost more excited about the business. I'm like, "Can you chill out? It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. You've had too much coffee." So,
Oh, I love that so much. And like,
yeah.
it's so funny too, like when you go from working, I'm saying a real job, but I'm putting it in air quotes, like a real
Yeah,
job. And it's like, then you start working for yourself and you're like, I get to make my own decisions. It's so cool. And then you're like, wait, I have to make my own decisions.
yeah,
And then it's like a double-edged sword because it's like, it's great
it
and
is.
wonderful all at the same time. But then you're like, well, now I could never work for anyone else. So
Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine, and like you guys had mentioned earlier about during COVID and finding different avenues, like, I really, got worried and considered it and things like that. Like, you think about, well, what if I have to go back to a different type of job or whatever, like, whatever however COVID is gonna impact my business, and it was definitely a shaking thought, because you're like, "I just can't. I've done this for too long." So,
Hmm.
yeah, so you just
Yeah.
power through and keep coming up with
yeah,
new ideas. And
yeah,
yeah, can you talk about your experience last year just with your
yeah.
business and how that kind of went?
Yeah, and I think that this conversation we've had before, a little bit between us, and during COVID, I feel like it was kind of like everybody was like, "I'm okay. We're all okay. We're doing okay." And really all of us were like, "We're not okay. Like, this is awful and I don't know what I'm doing." And now I'm having a identity crisis. So with us, being in mostly a wedding industry, weddings just stopped, as you guys know. And it was like, what do we do? How do we pay our bills? How do we keep
Hmm.
on going? And that really forced us to diversify, which I'm thankful for, but it was really hard. Like, I didn't want to look like a complete crazy person going from all things wedding to now I want to do home. Now I want to do all these other avenues. And then you want to make sure your business has its own identity that makes sense. You don't want people to be like, well, what is it that you do? And you don't want to wear too many hats. But it really forced us to diversify. And I think that that's a good thing. I don't think you always have to be in one niche. And then if, depending on how the economy goes, how things change in the world, like, you're not setting yourself in one tiny little bubble and hoping that nothing ever goes wrong. So I think it's a great thing to diversify and make sure that you are always prepared for things to change if it has to.
That's great insight. I think for anyone listening, no matter the type of business that you have. And I mean, I think everyone could probably agree when we all said, like, in our heads, everyone was like, nothing could ever happen to weddings. Weddings will never go away. People will always be in love. People will always get married. This is indestructible. Like, it's untouchable. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden, we were facing the reality of, like, oh crap, this fell apart literally overnight when things just like shut down and stopped. And I remember for the first like month, Kaylee, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm just gonna wait this out. It'll be fine.
Yes.
I'm not gonna force myself to pivot. Everyone else is pivoting and going
Yep.
crazy. I'm just gonna sit tight for a second.
I
And then I was like,
agree.
oh, this is not gonna work.
Yeah, we didn't really feel a huge impact when it first started. It was really as it was tapering down because people were just still hesitant. They were going in different directions. So many people were just getting like having tiny little weddings that just didn't need a lot of special touches. They just wanted it to be simple, which is great. But you know, as our industry goes, we need those people. So yes, I definitely feel you. It was one of those things that you were like, I'm just gonna hope that this goes away.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, okay, so let's talk about that was kind of probably a moment of experience, like a little bit of burnout maybe, or just like more worry that on that side. So have you experienced like any type of burnout? And can you talk about like how you've recovered from that feeling?
Yeah, burnout is part of it. If you are going into a business, regardless of what kind of business you want to run, don't expect it to be all rainbows and sunshine all the time. Sometimes you do just hit those burnout phases that you have to get yourself out of, but sometimes it's okay to allow it to, like it's a process. So I just think that when you're juggling so many things, especially for me as a mom and all of the other things that I want to give my 100% to, the moments that I've hit my burnouts, I just needed to experience it and then move on. And definitely COVID, that was one of my major burnout moments. But there have been times where I've hit burnouts, and I can tell you the main reason is because of just saying yes to too much, saying no, not enough, and you know, trying to do all the things. It can make you burn out because you're just go, 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 and then you're burnout and you need to crash. But yeah, like I think it's just one of those real moments that you have to accept. And when it comes, just let it pass. Don't give up. Don't take it as like a moment of giving up because that's a really, really easy feeling to feel. As soon as you're burning out, you're like, I need to give up. And that's usually the moment that something great is about to happen or you're going to be inspired by something. So that burnout moment can sometimes be really good for you in some ways.
Ooh, I'm getting chills because I feel like you're so right. Because when that happens, it is kind of a little bit of a wake up call. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, just like you said, just lean into it, just let
Yeah.
it happen because we all are going to have those days where we just feel totally wiped out. Or sometimes weeks, you know, sometimes it's not just like a day where you're feeling crappy. Sometimes it's a period of just feeling totally overwhelmed. And I know you kind of took a step back from weddings, not only because of COVID, but just kind of like your own personal reasons as well, right?
It was kind of all at one time, like, it was COVID, it was feeling burnout, it was not knowing what direction to go in, it was creeping up on my 10-year mark of owning this business and not knowing, like, you know, where I was going, you know, just kind of feeling like things were changing and the world was changing and all the things that I was trying to pursue. It was just a lot. But I just felt like I think I don't know for everybody. Everyone has their own things that they need to do whenever it comes to being burnout or just exhausted. But for me, I just needed to unplug. I turned my phones off. I stepped away from the computer. I went out and I took hikes. I went for walks. You know, a lot of nature, and that really helped center me. Everyone's different. They all need their own ways of just getting back to reality. But for me, that's what worked. And so yeah, like it can sometimes just hit you all at one time. And that's what it did to me.
Okay, so with burnout too, now I'm assuming you probably have more things in place to keep yourself from getting burnout. What are some of the ways that you keep yourself organized with systems in your business?
Yeah. So before I talk about like order management, communication, things like that, I want to say that it's so easy when you own your own business to never turn it off. And that really leads to burnout. I was really bad about that for a long time. I would say literally up until a few months ago. I would just never turn my emails off. Never I would let the notifications come in at all hours of the day and almost night. I would answer things, I would look at things, I would look at stats. I mean, it was just never ending. I was always just obsessed with it. And that's great to be super involved in your business and passionate about it. But I think just not being able to turn it off at any point of the day is just not good. Like you need a break. So yeah, just at some point in the day, turn it off. Like go see your friends, go talk to your kids, like turn it off and let your mind rest. That way you can be refreshed for the next day. That was just something that I've taught myself the past few months that is so important. But going into like order management, things like that. I'm definitely in involved in many things. I've started doing Shopify, Etsy, and Amazon. So they all have their own little order management systems. One thing I will definitely say that has really helped me this past year, and I haven't talked a lot about this to other people, but it's really important. I think it's really cool, is ShipStation. And some people may have heard of it.
Yeah. We love ShipStation.
Yeah. So I had discovered them a couple of years ago, and I didn't like their system, the way that it was set up. So I ended up not going with them. And so whenever I thought about what I needed for kind of like a multi-order management place and have everything in one place, I explored that again this year, and they had all the things, like checked all the boxes, all the things that I needed. So that is a really good program to use if you're in any of the e-commerce stores, because it puts everything in one place. You can manage your orders. You can do a little bit of everything there. So that was one way of me getting a whole lot more organized this year. And then communication, I think, is important too, obviously. That can be a little tricky on Etsy because they want you to stay in their messaging system, which is good. It's good to have that reference to look back in all of your communication between your customers. But I like to have everything in one place too. So if it's outside of Etsy, I like to have my own email and my own chat systems. I try to just make it as easy as possible for my customers to not only get a hold of me, but if they can't get a hold of me, they should be able to find what they're looking for anyways. So that's really important too, because we can all be really, really busy. So
yeah, I mean, you have a lot of great things that you've set up over the years, and obviously your business has grown a lot, and with that you have to change your systems, and with that you also have to outsource some things as well. So over time, what are some things that you have hired out or brought people into your team to help you do so that you can focus on what you're only capable of, right?
Yeah, definitely. So over the years, I've always had some sort of help, whether it's been one person or 5 people. It's hard for me to find that sweet spot because I don't like being a boss. I like to be the creative person. So I don't want to really tell people what to do, but it's necessary in a business because you cannot do everything. And there's been times where I've learned that the hard way. So I do have someone that helps me with my customer service. I have some people that help me with my packaging, ensuring just everything not only gets packaged correctly, but it gets shipped out on time. And then my husband and I are more of the makers and designers. So that's really helped us as far as like being the creative people that we want to be instead of always trying to do all the back end of things, because that can sometimes it squanders your creativity. Like if I'm so worried about all the customer service, I have absolutely no time to create, no time to come up with new things that people are looking for. So that took me a while to kind of like hand the reins over for those things. But if you're ready to do that, you should. And finding people that you can connect well with that are passionate about your business as well is really important. You don't want to get just anybody. You want somebody that cares about your success, cares about seeing good in your business. So I think that's really important, to try not to do everything. Try to hand it over when you can.
Yeah. Great advice.
Yes, for sure. I'm like feeling that so hard right now, Kaylee, because I'm like, like I have a VA, I have a bookkeeper, and I'm like, I need that packing person. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're a one-woman show over
know.
there.
It's bananas. So I'm like, I'm just like putting out feelers to like people in my friend circle before I even like put anything online, because I'm like, maybe there'll be someone like a mom who just wants a couple of hours a week to come in or something like that, a little bit more low key. So
you can start anywhere. Yeah, like I've always started with friends first, and they say, don't work with your friends, but I don't know. I think that if you have great friends and you have just good things in place before you get started working together, then it will do just fine. Most of the people that have worked for me are either friends or friends of friends, and it's always worked out wonderfully. And they have the same kind of like lifestyle as you, and the same passions and the same things that you all want to work together, as goals. So I think that's really great.
She'll find someone. I know it.
Yeah, you will. Like, I'm still looking. We had someone that was helping in our wood shop, and he moved away. So we're trying to find someone new to take that over. So that's been a little bit of a challenge because you have to be careful when you're working with machinery and things like that.
Oh my gosh,
that one's a little more nerve-wracking.
That's a little bit more sketchy than just like putting stickers on things. So.
Exactly.
Okay,
so that's why we're kind of like, we've been kind of like, hang on to the reins for that one for a little bit.
Oh, that totally makes sense. Let's see. We still have a bunch of other questions to ask you. You were talking a little bit about Etsy earlier, that they kind of want to keep you on their platform and keep the communication there.
Yes.
Because I know your personal story really well.
Yeah.
I know that you left Etsy a while back, and that was a really big deal. I remember that huge transition that you guys did. You were like, I can't take it anymore. I'm going insane.
Yes.
Can you tell our audience that story, the evolution of building your business on Etsy, leaving, starting your Shopify, and then kind of coming back sneakily? It would be fun to hear about that.
It's funny because I was my husband and I were talking about getting back on Etsy, and I'm like, I can't do it. They know I left. They're gonna know. But I think that it's okay to be back and forth sometimes, because you're just trying to figure this out the best way you know how. There's no manual on it. And so, and not one scenario might work good for one person, whereas another scenario doesn't work for them at all. So I'm trying to think of what year this was. I guess this would have been 2019. Etsy was putting quite a bit of strict stipulations on businesses, and they have let up from that a little bit. They still have the same kind of systems in place, but I think they learned really quickly that it was scaring a lot of people off. But basically, they were putting these systems in place where if you had 3 unsatisfied customers in a month span, then you were at the potential risk of being shut down. And it was very scary. It was very permanent. I mean, it's one of those things when you're running, this is my whole livelihood. You can't just shut me down with absolutely no conversation, no, information as to what's going on. So during that, now for us, everyone's different, but for us, we're a very high volume store. So we could push out hundreds of orders a month. And if we have 2 or 3 unhappy people, that happens. There's things that go wrong. There could be a shipment that gets lost or gets damaged, or I've made a mistake, whatever it is. It's always something that you can resolve. But unfortunately, in that world, not everyone may know that they can get a problem resolved. So they take to leaving a review or opening a case. They just don't know. There's not always that information in place. So I had a situation where a few people one package went missing, and then a customer who left 2 bad reviews saying that her order was lost. So I reach out to them. I'm like, hey, we're going to get you some replacements. We're going to make sure that your order's there in time for your wedding. No worries. It happened. She changed her stars to 5 stars. She was so thankful. But unfortunately, Etsy told us that those reviews, regardless if they were changed, stay in place. So they were still counted as being 3 negative experiences for that customer. So they sent me an email. I mean, it was within a day or two that I was at risk of closure. And I think that moment I was just done. I was tired of feeling fear and scared all the time, wondering if I was just going to be suddenly shut down. I mean, that kind of control just scared me for my business. And so right then and there, I knew that I could not have all my eggs in one basket. I needed to have my own website, my own presence in other places. And it just was a big wake up call. And I think that's super, super important, to never just put all your eggs in one place, because you never know what will go wrong. You never know what will change. And for me, that was a big shock. I had been with Etsy for 8 years at that point, or 7 years at that. Yeah, going up on 8 years. So I had never experienced that. And then all of a sudden I was like, what is this? What is going on? I couldn't handle it. And so I was like, I'm getting off, I'm turning it off. And it was kind of just the right time to do it and try other things. So we started our own website. I put a whole lot of time and effort into that. It allowed me to just be really passionate about my own brand and my own name. And then just this year with COVID making a huge impact on weddings, it was like, well, all these things are changing. I might as well diversify again. And basically, one person put it this way, when I told them, hey, I don't want to be on Etsy. I just want to be on my website. And they were like, why? If you have this stream of revenue coming in from here and everything's good, and you have your stream of revenue coming in other places, why not diversify and have yourself in all of these avenues that people can reach you? And it was a really great eye opener for me, because I was always like, no, Etsy, I don't want to be on there anymore. But it was really just that eye opener that was kind of like, that you're right. I can be on these other platforms, even if my established name is here on my website, and that's where I want to be. But sometimes you just need those other avenues to bring your clients to find you. They don't always know where to find you. So yeah, it's been a back and forth game, but I'm just thankful that I have these avenues to work with, and now I'm in multiple places, so I don't have to have that fear anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you got to focus on your brand, your look, what that meant to you guys. And I think there is so much strength in having your own home base because you said that, like you said just now, that totally removed the fear aspect of it. Of like, Etsy can go bonkers
Yeah.
crazy. And it won't even matter because I have all these other things set up. So I love that story because I do know quite a few people around that time when that shift was happening that were like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, people on this platform can sometimes be too crazy. Or, like you said, they
Yeah.
don't understand the process of, hey, why don't you message the seller
Yeah,
first
just
to
reaching
ask if
out.
there's anything we can do before we
Absolutely.
bombard someone with bad reviews? Do
Yeah.
you follow small biz memes, Kaylee?
Small biz means I don't think I
Memes,
do.
yeah.
Oh, I no, I've heard of a few of them, and I've probably seen some in passing
Okay.
by, but I will
It's like
definitely check it out.
it is like all crazy like Etsy conversations basically,
Oh my
and you
god.
like can't help but laugh. Like they are ridiculous, just
Yeah.
so over the top, like that people turn on a dime, like they'll be like cussing you out and then the seller
Oh,
will offer to fix it and they're like,
and then they're all
"Oh,
sweet
okay."
again, yeah.
And you're like,
Oh,
"You're
man.
psychotic. People are
I
nuts."
need to get
So
on there just to make myself feel better because it's really nice.
You should, because
Okay.
everyone's like, this account is the best
Yeah.
because then no one feels alone, right? It's like,
Oh
oh,
my god.
okay, this happens to everyone where people
Yes,
are just
'cause
like
you
nuts.
do. Yeah, you feel like this experience that you've gone through or this customer you're dealing with, no way can someone else have just gone through what I've gone through and dealt with. But then you watch these other things and you're like, "Whoa, okay, I haven't experienced that yet."
You're like, oh, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all, Cammy is still kind of sort of here, but we temporarily lost her because there are people power washing her house. So Kaylee and I will keep talking and she'll jump in if she can
Yeah,
at any point. But
definitely.
we're on a roll, so we're not gonna stop now. All right, Kaylee. So also the not so fun part of owning a business, making mistakes and kind of having to own up to it, right? Or knowing that you're at fault or you did something wrong, but those always pay off in the end because they're the most valuable lessons. So, can you talk about some mistakes or experiences that you've had in your business that you've really learned from, if
Yeah.
you can recall some?
Oh goodness, I sure can. I'm not by far a perfect person. I'm actually one of those people that is just kind of on the go, on the go. I'm not a perfectionist. A lot of people in my family are, and I'm kind of one of those people that's like, good enough. Not when it comes to my product, but just when it comes to like, things that you're doing that aren't important. You don't obsess over the details, but like when it comes to my work, I do. So whenever I make a mistake, it's like, how did this happen? But it happens. You're human. You're tired sometimes or whatever. You just weren't having your best days. So I did have an experience happen last year with a wedding, and it always ends up being like a situation that you could not imagine happening. But I had an important order. It was a huge, huge, huge wedding. We were already on a really big time crunch, so I was aware of it from the beginning, but we made sure to get the order out as quickly as possible. So we got the order out. It was this massive, biggest signs I've ever painted. You've probably seen me post them on Instagram last year, but we shipped this massive order in multiple shipments. No, I apologize. It was one big shipment. Thankfully, we were able to get everything in one box because I really wanted to make sure that it all got there in one place. So yeah, we made this big order. We shipped it plenty of time. I think we had close to 2 weeks before the wedding was taking place. So there was a 2 week of wiggle room to make sure everything got there. If anything was arriving damaged, we could replace it, whatever. We just always want to provide a cushion. So the customer reaches out to me, I think it was like 2 or 3 days before the wedding, and she was like, "Hey, my signs are still not here." And I was like, "What? It's been almost 2 weeks. How is that even possible?" Especially because we had sent it like a faster shipping method. But as everyone knows, like UPS or the post office or FedEx, they're not 100% reliable. There's circumstances that they have to deal with, whether it's a truck breaking down or whatever. So yeah, she reached out to me, and because of the custom nature of the order, I could not replace everything. I didn't have all of the material at that size and at that color just on hand. It was something that was made for her order. So I stayed up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning redoing her entire order with 2 days before the wedding. The only ones we couldn't do was obviously those custom pieces that I talked about. But for the most part, 80% of the order I remade, I overnighted, I covered the cost, everything, because I was just like, this can't happen. I cannot leave her with an entire wedding of nothing to display. And that was a very big, those pieces were so special to her. So yeah, so we got them there. They were overnighted. They made it in time. It was kind of like one of those save the day moments, but it was awful to experience that because I just felt helpless and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. But I just knew that I had to at least do something, whether it was, I don't know. I just knew I had to remake her order no matter what it took to get it to her. And she was so thankful. She sent me beautiful pictures. She was like, you just went above and beyond. And, unfortunately, that was not one of those mistakes that I made. I certainly have made mistakes on my own. But when you're dealing with a situation that someone else made a mistake and you have to make up for it, it's almost harder because you're just apologizing for that situation and you have no control over it. But it happens. So I think just going above and beyond whenever you can, and then sometimes when you can't do anything, just sincerely apologizing and letting them know and being honest. And I think the lessons that I've learned is sometimes when a situation goes awry, I'm scared to communicate because I'm scared to let them down. Like I'm so scared to reach out and be like, this is what's going on, or this is wrong, or whatever. It's best to just do it, own up to it, or whatever the situation. The communication goes such a long way because that's going to just make them feel better. It's going to keep them informed. It's going to calm their nerves, whatever it may be. So regardless of if you make a mistake or if someone else makes a mistake, that communication and just knowing that you care goes such a long way. That's what I've learned over the many years.
Yeah. And did the first shipment ever show up?
Oh my gosh. So it showed up, I think it was like another week, and then it was damaged. So it was like, even if it had got there, they probably damaged it and they didn't want to deliver it or something. But yeah.
My gosh.
It was a complete nightmare.
So do you think, like, looking back on that, would you have broken it up into separate orders, do you think?
Yeah.
Like smaller or shipping orders, would that have even changed anything? Like, obviously there's nothing you can do at this point.
Yeah. Now, I think definitely shipping things in multiple shipments would have probably been a good idea because not necessarily to prevent the damages, but maybe most of the order could have arrived. Like one box may have been missing, but the other ones could have made it. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things that I felt like looking back on it, there wasn't a whole lot that I could have changed, especially because it was shipped in plenty of time. Now, there have been times where things were cut really close, like, hey, the wedding's in 5 days, it's shipped, but oh my goodness, we're cutting time close. But there's a lot of weddings that take place very quickly, so it happens. Now, there's definitely been situations where I've made a mistake and it was too late to fix. Now, that happens, unfortunately. What I do to prevent a lot of things is I have my team proof check everything. So I do send proofs to my customers and then I have my team check everything, especially because when you're staring at something for so long, you don't always see the mistakes that you've made, especially very just inconspicuous things. So I have my team look over everything. Sometimes I even send pictures if I need to. But yeah, just doing your best to stay clear-minded and focused when you're working. And then if you do make a mistake, you just own up to it and try to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, I just can't imagine having to like stay up. I mean, I've had my moments like that with clients for sure, where it's like things I thought that were going to get there from the printer on time didn't, and I had to find them like the day before and yada yada, all these crazy things. Like if you've been in the wedding industry long enough, been there, done that. Like people have probably experienced it to some degree. Okay, so you've talked a little bit about just like giving a good customer experience, right? For all of our listeners who have an Etsy shop specifically, do you have advice for people who are running custom orders through Etsy? Like a good way to manage that, to handle communication, to keep track of things? Because it's not quite the same, as placing an order for a product that's ready to be shipped.
Yes. So Etsy does have a new feature that they added. I think it was either last year or the year before, where you can create a custom listing directly from the conversation panel that you're working in. So that has
Okay.
made it a little bit easier to where you can now just go ahead and start the order. So I really like that feature. The other thing that I like to do apart from Etsy, which you can certainly do on Etsy, is I have a little questionnaire. So whether you copy and paste it into the messages or you even send them a link to it, that's perfectly fine. I think it's really great because sometimes your customer will come to you with very vague idea of what they want, like, hey, I want a sign. Oh, okay, great. Well, what kind of sign do you want? We have so many different materials and colors. So you want to kind of get the answered quickly, because the longer that you take conversing with them, I feel like you kind of lose their interest, or they get impatient, or they might start looking for someone else that might already have what they need on hand. So it's really important to like get that invoice sent and get them excited about their order and make sure that you've kind of answered all of those questions and given them the accurate pricing. So I think having a questionnaire for you, regardless of what platform you're on, that's just going to allow you to ask all your questions in one place and get all your answers in one place. And then you're able to just move forward with that custom order and get it in. So I think that's important. And then just knowing that, you're there to communicate with them. They love that personal experience.
Do you mind sharing what you're using for those forms, like how you're collecting that information?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will have to look into so it's connected with my website, and it's basically just an app that allows me to do an FAQ, or not an FAQ, like a question. So like a question and answer. So they're able to basically fill it out. Now on Etsy, it would be more of just a copy and paste nature, and then they would just provide all of the answers.
Yeah.
But it's pretty clear and simple. It's just, hey, what size are you looking for? What material are you looking for? What colors?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any inspiration pictures? That's always nice when people kind of give you an idea of what they're looking for. But I think sometimes when you come at it and you don't know what kind of questions that you need to ask to get all of your answers, and especially knowing what price you already have in mind that you charge for that custom work, that can sometimes send you in a little bit of a tizzy, because sometimes when a custom order comes at me, and it's something very, very different, I need a moment to decide and determine pricing. You don't want to just hastily hand that over and then regret where you went with that. So I sometimes just take a moment, I look over all the information, and I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to cost. And this is the kind of order that we can create for you. So, just being intentional with your questions and the information that you already have, and just being prepared for it. That way you know how to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great advice. I know we have a lot of listeners who use Dubsado, so that's a place too where I think people could like build forums and send them if people are coming through Etsy or they're coming through a different platform for a custom order.
Yeah, that's a great one. The one that I use is just integrated with Shopify. So Shopify has its own little features like that you can use, but Dubsado is great for any platform. So yeah, just having that place where no matter what the customer is looking for, all of those questions and answers are there, because sometimes they have no clue what they're wanting. So
yeah, absolutely. That's like the hardest thing I think with custom clients sometimes, is not knowing. But there's also the people that know like too much of what they want, and they're also a pain.
And I've had people where they'll send me like a whole spreadsheet of everything, and I'm like, wow, you're way more organized than I am.
But you're like, okay, but also I kind of love it. So I'm not going to be mad.
This is my job easier. Yeah. So it's kind of nice too sometimes when they give you a little too much information, because then you're like, well, I mean, I've got all my answers, so let's get this started. So.
And now, okay, you and Josh introduced something really exciting to your business in the last year, and you don't have to talk about it too much if you don't want to, but I know that you made a shift from hand lettering every single item to doing your hand lettering digitally on the iPad first and then printing them in-house essentially. Yeah. So how has that revolutionized your business?
Oh my goodness. That's why part of what we were going through during COVID was so hard, because it was such a big move for us. And it was not only extremely different, but it was, it's an investment when you're changing from something that's, an artisan type of handmade to you're trying to be kind of the big guy now. You're trying to to grow and provide so much more. And that requires a little bit of an investment. And when you're already going through a really tough time during all the things that are going on in the world, it's like, okay, I'm just going to live on faith at this point and hope it works out.
Because you guys bought basically like a massive
Yes.
UV printer.
Yes. So our big UV printer, we had been talking about it for about a year. We had just stumbled upon it on YouTube one time and we saw it and we were like, what is this magical machine? I mean, we knew different things like that existed, but we didn't know that it would work for what we do. And kind of backing up a little bit, we actually dabbled in screen printing. And screen printing is super cool, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you're doing that type of method. So there's not a lot of room for error. You also can't do a lot of custom work with that. So we actually did screen printing for probably about 2 years. We didn't use it for all of our work. We just used it for things that were non-custom, but it was challenging and it was hard to keep things cohesive and consistent. So that's when we started pursuing printing. So I still hand letter every day on my iPad or on different mediums, or even like, creating something on paper and then scanning it in. It just kind of depends on what I'm working on. But I'm still able to be creative. But with our printer, it does require me to be a whole lot more digital, a whole lot more graphic design. So I've been learning a whole lot when it comes to Photoshop and Illustrator.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're ever, I think my biggest thing was that I can't hand letter forever. And there's also only one of me. So if I desire to have my business to grow, something has to give, something has to change. So it's not like I can hire a bunch of people that paint like me, because I have certainly tried it and it did not work. So there's only, one of you that does it the way you do. And that's what people want. So we were like, well, how can we multiply me? How can we make this so much better? And that's when we decided to go with the UV printer. And so now we're able to give the look and feel that I've always created for my signage, but now it's so much better because there's so many more different colors and substrates, different things that we can produce with it. So it's really expanded our creativity. And in some ways it's overwhelming because we're like, wow, we can do so much with this. Where do we start? So first and foremost, it was just taking the product that we already knew and already loved and just making it better. And that was our number one goal first, was just improving it and making it better. So yeah, we're super, super excited. We're still in the learning phase, but we're finally getting things figured out a little bit.
Yeah. I remember we had a conversation at one point and I was like, I think I used the word rebuilding, right? I was like, you're in a phase of rebuilding because you've taken on something that has completely changed how your business operates.
Yeah.
And there's that learning phase, that transition phase. And I was like, and then once you hit your stride, you're going to be good to go.
Yes. I know that we're still working towards that, but that is so true. I definitely had to accept that too, because I'm one of those people that I'm a very impatient person and I like things to be instantaneous. So if I am learning something, I want to instantly be perfect at it. I want to instantly be the best at it. I'm not a competitive person. It's just that I hold myself to high standards and I just want to know how to do it the best. So whenever it came to learning these machines and just learning a new way of how we create our work, I was like, why isn't this perfect? Like literally the next day. So my husband's like, it takes patience. It takes all these figuring things out. So I think that goes to like whatever you're learning. Like I've had so many people tell me, how do you know how to do your lettering the way that you do? How did you learn it? Who did you learn from? What sources did you learn from? And it literally is just time. It is just time and patience, because it's not overnight that you learn how to do a new skill and just think you're going to be perfect at it the next day. So yeah, patience and just keep going, keep working at it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this whole thing has been so inspiring. You just kind of sharing your heart with everybody. I know people are really going to appreciate it. There's so many people that run their shops through Etsy, but also have their Shopify store and are kind of dealing with like a lot of the same struggles you guys did. And by all means, like we still deal with things every day, right? It doesn't matter how many years in business we are. There's always going to be something new that can trip us up or get in the way.
Yeah. And I think when you're starting a new business, don't look at all the big people and think, wow, I'll never be that great, or I'll never be that big, or I'll never have that following, because it's just that those things don't matter. It matters with how passionate you are, how much you love it. That's so important. Not trying to be like everyone else. And I know like a lot of people really look at numbers, really look at, followers, likes, all those things. Like those things are great, but they don't measure your success. They just really don't.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I wish I had learned that so much earlier, Kaylee. I really wish I had learned that.
Yeah. And I still learn it every day. Like I still have my days where I'm like, oh, nobody liked that or whatever. Okay.
You're like, screw you.
Yeah. But
actually, I like the days when people don't like my stuff. I actually like those days because I'm like, oh, I'm onto something different. Because people tend to like what they're seeing a lot, right? They like things that are trendy. They like things that are the norm of what you see on Instagram. And when people don't like my stuff, I'm like, oh, I must have done something different there.
Different. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope that people enjoy listening. I've been super passionate about small businesses or just people in the creative world, whether you're literally just painting at your kitchen table or you do have a big studio or a big warehouse. I'm super passionate about it. And I just hope that some of the information I've been able to share helps at least someone. So thank you so much for having me on.
I know that it will help somebody for sure. The biggest help is just being reminded we're not alone, right?
Yeah.
And always knowing that. So, okay, other big exciting thing. I know you have something coming out this summer. You're doing your first ever course. So do you want to take a moment to talk about that and what that's going to look like? Because I think this week, right? This week is early enrollment, like when this episode airs.
Yes. So, oh my goodness. This has been one of those things that I have always wanted to do, but I just was so scared, so nervous. Who would want to hear me have anything to teach about? Like what do I have to bring to the table? But I had so many people asking all the time, like, hey, do you do anything local? Or are you going to ever teach on anything? Or can you show me this? And it was like, I guess after so many people asking, it was like, well, I guess I have some things to share. I mean, I'm a big helper person. I would love to just help. So yeah, I was super excited to kind of just go ahead and move forward with it. I was like, what do I have to lose? Like, we've already went through such tough times. I need to pursue something new and different and help others because I've already went through so many struggles and so many things that I had to learn the hard way. Why not pave that path just a little bit for other creatives? So yeah, the course goes live in August. We have our early enrollment taking place this month, which I'm really nervous about because that's going to kind of determine the success of the course.
Yeah, it's happening literally this week, like the week that this episode is airing. Yep. So that's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had a ton of people excited about it and just always asking me questions. And I'm trying to be as involved as I can on Instagram. So that way all of those questions and all those things are covered. We have our own little website for it. So like you can link over from our website or you can go directly to it from our Instagram. But yeah, it's all about just teaching and learning all the things that I've learned these past 9 years, just so that if you're starting something like this or already have started, hopefully some of those things can help you be that much more successful and hopefully that much more successful quickly, because sometimes like learning things the hard way, it can just, I don't know, it can sometimes crush you or it can sometimes make you take a step back when really you got to learn, you got to keep pursuing. And I think that this course will help people, at least I hope. So
yeah. I know it definitely will. Like the heart and soul that you have put into the resource, that like I personally know that you have put into it, is going to be so good. The amount of content that you're covering for like the price you're charging is also amazing. So it's mulberrymarketcourses.com, you guys, for those of you who are listening and you want to check out early enrollment for the course. Early enrollment is $347, which is $150 off the full price of $497. So if you're listening this week and you either have wanted to get into signage or you have a sign making business already and you want to make that more efficient and better, like I guarantee this course will have something for you. Yeah. Kind of regardless of the stage, right?
Definitely. I love that all the classes, they do go hand in hand, but at the same time, if you're like, well, I'm not making signs, but I'm making this and it involves lettering and it involves shipping. Okay, well, there's going to be so much information talking about just those areas that you don't want to miss, because yeah, you may have your own way of doing things, but it is so important to see how other people do things because they may have found a trick or two here and there that can make your life so much easier. You want to save money when you can. You don't want to like outsource things the wrong way. There's so many things that you can learn. And I know I learn every day when I hear about other people and the way they do things. Like I take courses as well. I do anything you can learn. Learning is key. So yeah, it's just going to be packed full of information.
Yeah. And I want to say too, like in terms of like 347, I feel like it's a total steal. I easily spent like $500 plus on just paint
I
pens
have too.
alone when
Yes.
I was first trying to like learn how to do wood signs. Cause like I said, I've followed Kaylee for years. She was probably one of the first people I followed on Instagram. And I had my phase of doing wood signs. And after a couple years, I was like, well, I was still living in an apartment too. So I was like, this is not working for my current lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I just don't feel like I'm a pro in this area. This isn't like where my passions are. But the amount of money I spent trying to figure out everything, like having a course like this, oh my gosh, like if I had intended to go into signage like way more, this is exactly what the resource I would have wanted.
I'm so glad to hear that. I really hope that works with other people too, that they feel the same way, because sign making is so fun and you can just do so much with it. Like whether you're using it for a business or you're creating for yourself or your own wedding or for your friends and family, it's just something that's enjoyable and you can make it your own. You can make it your own style, your own types of materials. And I just think that's important to kind of like know where to start, know where to not make the mistakes. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Exciting times for sure. Everyone, we will put those links in the description of the podcast as well so that you can go look there if you want to click through to Kaylee's website, mulberrymarketdesigns.com, or her course website, mulberrymarketcourses.com, because hopefully there will be more in the future. But right now she's focusing on building this first one.
Yes. Absolutely.
So very exciting. All right, Kaylee, we always have one question that we wrap up with at the end of every episode for our guests. And it is, what is one of your big goals for this year that you hope to accomplish?
Okay, so I probably have two goals in mind. First, I would love to dabble a little bit in the world of wholesale. And this more pertains to like my home line that I've created this year. I would love to just hopefully get some of my pieces in stores. I just feel like that would be so cool, so fun. And I think it would be a little bit more affordable in nature for people too, who may not be in the online world, but they stumble upon something in a store that they love. I think that would be really neat. So we're kind of looking into a little bit of that, but I feel very clueless in that area. I've never pursued that. So that's one goal. And then another goal that I'm wanting to do this year is do a little bit of local classes. My course has got me really inspired with teaching. So I'm hoping maybe at the end of the year or at the beginning of 2022 that I'll be able to do some more local things, because there's so many people in my area that love learning. They love, out of the box thinking and small businesses. We're in a great area for that. So yeah, any of my local people, they want to learn. So I'm excited to pursue that one. So that one may happen sooner than the other one, but those are both my goals for this year.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, Cami has a ton of experience with wholesale, so you can always like follow up with her, because I feel like if you took like, let's say a dozen of the sign designs that you have that you can print and manufacture really well, like maybe they're not huge, right? So they're a little more easy to ship. And you kind of like build yourself a catalog and start mailing that to people who you think are a great fit for you. Like I can already think of stores off the top of my head. I'm like, oh, she would be great in this boutique or that boutique or whatever. And like, and start that way, just with like, start with like 12 and then like go from there, right? If people start really buying those and they're interested in those. And obviously to make sure like your margins are playing out and all that good stuff too.
And with our machine, that's why that door has been opened up for us, because I couldn't imagine hand painting a bunch of wholesale signs. So
no way.
I would never sleep. So.
Yeah. You hardly slept before anyways. So
let me just add that to my other goals for 2021 is sleep. I've started getting to bed at a decent time.
Yes. Amazing. That's always a great thing.
Sleep is important, guys, especially if you're creating, you need to have sleep. And that was something I was really bad at for a long time. So yeah.
I love my sleep. When I get in bed at night, I always tell Will, I'm like, this is my favorite part of the day. I'm back in bed. All right, Kaylee. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the episode. So for everyone listening, sorry again that we lost Cami partway through. I think the pressure washing in the house was a little too loud to endure the episode, but that is okay. So if you have loved this episode with Kaylee, please head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review. Just leave a few words to tell us what you love about the podcast. That's really, really helpful when you guys do that, just because it allows other people to find us on the podcast platforms. And I want to encourage you, if you're currently listening, to screenshot your phone and upload that to your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag me, Cami, Kaylee at Mulberry Market Designs, and Biz Birthday Bash, just to let us know that you're listening. We always love hearing from you guys and knowing that you're loving the episodes. And please give Kaylee a follow as well. So Kaylee, take a moment to tell everyone where they can find you and just go through your handles and everything real quick.
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, it's all at Mulberry Market Designs. You can also, if you head over to my Instagram, you can find my website, my Etsy, a little bit of everything. But yeah, a great starting place is Instagram, so at Mulberry Market Designs.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Kaylee, and thank you everyone for listening. We will see all of you guys next time. Hey guys, we just wanted to hop in and talk about one of our amazing resources, the A to Z directory. All of us have thought at some point, how did she do that or how did she make that? And maybe you don't know where to start or how the heck to produce this amazing product you've dreamt up.
Well, the A to Z directory is the missing puzzle piece in your biz, you guys, seriously. So it's built in the form of a yearly membership, and it's your one-stop shop for finding suppliers and vendors for all the things. Literally where to print everything from custom invitations, greeting cards, mugs, koozies, acrylic printing, letterpress, custom ribbon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it literally goes from A to Z. From acrylic printers to zipper pouches, we have it in the A to Z directory.
We want to help all of you search less and create more with this list of 300 plus vendors and suppliers. Don't worry, they're very organized. It's not going to be overwhelming and confusing when you join. And this membership also includes access to a private Facebook community. It's incredibly active and involved. And if you need a question answered fast, that is definitely the place to go.
Yeah, our Facebook group really is the best. You guys, everyone is so helpful in there. And we're in there too, answering questions you guys might have. So it's a great way to get access to us and ask us things without sliding into our DMs. So we're more likely to answer you in the Facebook group, just saying. Anyway, also in the Facebook group, this is new for 2020 and we're really excited about it. We are hosting monthly Power Hour Q&A sessions that are live, and these are only available to our A to Z directory members. So you can hop in with us live and ask us all your burning questions in real time and just hang out with us every month. And we do these at different times so you can actually be there live, and the replays are always available in the Facebook group for members.
This resource is priced at $147 a year, which honestly is extremely affordable and is full of so many benefits, such as exclusive vendor coupons for members only. And we would love to have you guys join. Seriously, it's kind of like our family and our tribe. So visit bizbirthdaybash.com/directory to sign up today and use coupon code podcast2020 to receive $20 off your first year. That's podcast, all caps, 2020 for $20 off your first year.
We can't wait to see you in the Facebook group.